Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This is hitting episode number 50.
Woo.
So this one's going to be a special one, and we have Dre, Ricky, and then Dre's and my father, Dirk, on.
Just mine.
Just my father, Dirk. Dre was adopted, but...
That is not true.
So thank you for coming on, and we get a lot of questions a lot of times where Dre and I have acquired our work ethic and everything that we know in business, and I'm going to have to give that to the man sitting right here. So very thankful for that we have been positioned where we're at in life to have something like this and have all the opportunities that we have in life. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you have had a wide variety of entrepreneurship, and that's the podcast when we started it is about business owners and marketing, and really there's a lot of people that just have interest in entrepreneurs' minds of how they believe in themselves differently, how they navigate the world. And I want to start off with the story of you, where you grew up, family. I know this is a story that Dre and I know, but I want everyone to hear what led you into business and everything else on those endeavors.
Well, I don't know where you want me to start. Where I grew up, it was a long time ago. But you know what? I grew up with a mom and dad and a sister that we were all really tight, and went to high school in Olathe, went to K-State for college. But, you know, my whole thing growing up, and you guys kind of know how it is, you kind of think you had it rough. I mean, my dad was brutal. And my mom wasn't far behind. You know, I think what set me out kind of like you guys is you believe you can do anything. And my dad was kind of like that because I figured if I can make that man happy, I can make anybody happy. And, you know, I'm not knocking my dad either. I love my dad's no longer here, but my dad I was probably closer to that guy than I was anybody in the whole world. But he was also harder on me than anybody in the whole world. So growing up, you know, I think we'd moved to Kansas City. We hadn't lived here that long. And my dad has a job going, I think if I remember correctly, it was right off a truce somewhere, you know. And that wasn't a good part of town back in those days because I want to say I had like 8. And he takes me to a job site with a scoop shovel, a broom, Windex, and newspaper.
What'd your dad do?
My dad owned a commercial construction company. And he takes me to this job site, and he says, I want you to clean this place. I want everything swept up. I want everything cleaned up, clean the windows as high as you can reach. This is like at 6:37 in the morning. He does this. And, you know, I don't know any different. And he goes, don't get in anybody's way. Listen to everything that goes on, but don't talk to anybody. Just do what I tell you to do. And this is one of the first times I remember really doing, like, let's call it a job for my dad. You know, I'm a freaking little kid. And, oh, God, he's brutal after it was done. You know, he left me there all day. I mean, all day long, dropped me off, and then he came back, picked me up like 3 or 4, you know, and I think I was the last person to get picked up. I think all the other construction guys left. I didn't know any different. And he shows up, and he critiques my work. I thought he did a good job. My dad used to always say, if you're not going to do it right the first time, don't do it at all. And that was kind of how he looked at things. And I heard that a lot growing up. Especially when I had to clean.
I feel like we heard that a lot too growing up.
Never heard that before.
You know, one of my hardest things was cleaning the garage. Man, he made me take every single thing out of the garage. Clean the garage, put it all back in. And I mean everything. You couldn't leave one thing in the garage.
Oh, you would not believe it. My dad did the same thing.
I feel like we're having deja vu over here.
And then he would come out for inspection. And if one thing was wrong, he'd make you take everything out and do it all over again.
We're having you tell your story, not ours, okay?
I was not near as bad as my dad was. And he would say that the same thing. You know, I think it was in 9th grade when I first came to my head that if you're going to do something, do it right the first time or don't do it all. And I so bad wanted to say to him, I didn't want to do this. You're making me do this, you know.
Yeah, that sounds like
I think I talked back to my dad once in 9th grade, and I think the second time I was 27 years old. It wasn't somebody you talked back to, but you know, he was hard on me, and so was my mom. You know, there wasn't a lot of you get a lot of sympathy from my family. I grew up racing motorcycles like you guys did, and I wasn't as good as you guys, but that's pretty good. Yeah, it was. You get hurt, and I'm like, oh, baby.
But
you didn't get that.
I think that leads into business and a huge aspect that I think a lot of, I don't know if I want to call them kids, young adults in today's world don't have a work ethic in the space. They're too soft. Like, people have just become too soft and too sensitive that everything hurts their feelings, that there's a time that you can have criticism on everything that you do. And growing up that way, we were criticized on everything that we did.
It wasn't really meant as criticism, though.
But it's also at that point in time in your life, you don't look at as criticism as being constructive. At that time, I'm looking as like you're just being an asshole. And
you did not think that of your dad. I know you didn't.
And that time, at those times, you looked at like it was just he's being really mean to me. But now when you look back at it, it's like all those things were done for a reason. But it's now as we have progressed and gotten older, you can look at that and say, "Hey, that was."
Yeah, I'm gonna make a good point here because I never thought my dad was an asshole, but I did think he was mean to me.
It definitely crossed your mind.
No, I definitely thought he was mean to me.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, I would be so angry at the way he would treat me sometimes. You know, whether that was cleaning the garage, cleaning a job site, mowing the yard, picking up my room, racing motorcycles. You know, my dad, and, you know, it took me a long time to figure out because I used to always think, I'm just not good enough for him. No, I really did. I mean, and you don't know how hard that is when you're growing up. I wanted to please my dad, and I was never good enough for him. And it took me a long time to figure out that that's not what it was about. He wanted me to be the best man that I could be. And, but you don't turn around and tell your kid, I want you to be the best man you can be. That's why I'm being, you know, hard on you. Because then it doesn't have the same effect that it wouldn't have on me. And again, my mom was the same way, you know. She was super, super, super hard on me, just like my dad was. You know, if you stayed home and my dad's no longer with my mom is, I love my mom to death, you know, she's fireball still. And she didn't take any crap either, but she got a little soft on me, and I'm not good with soft. I'm just not. You know, sometimes I have to give her a little bit of trouble because that's not how she raised me. You know, she raised me being really hard on me. I'd rather go to school at 104 temperature than stay home with my mom back when I was a kid. Oh, if you're that sick, I don't think you can watch TV. I'm like, all right, well. You know.
So I think that, so with that discipline, growing up with your dad the way he was, how did that lead you into your first business endeavor as an individual was Dirk's Bar and Grill, correct?
No, it was not.
Oh, maybe it was not.
No. My first business endeavor after I got out of college, I started our Dirk Moss construction company. And I did a big rehab of a building back in the old days was Massed Ambulance. And there was a tire center that I turned into their main hub. And, you know, my dad helped me get my first business loan. And told me, don't pay this off right away. You pay it on the stages that you go, like they've structured it for you. That way you build your credit. Most people want to pay it off right away. It's not how you build your credit. I've been around the construction world with my dad for a long time, so I wasn't naive to it, but I also wasn't prepared. I went in there, but I did a great job. The people I had working for me did a great job. Back in those days, it was a different world. You didn't go, oh, you're sick, or, oh, you don't feel good. You know, you didn't talk to people like that. We were hardcore. But we got that job done. I'll tell you a funny story. I made quite a bit of money on it. I wasn't prepared for either. And I really wasn't grown up enough for it. And I remember driving down the road. There's 2 times I remember driving down the road with my dad, and before after I got out of college, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was living in an apartment. I said, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to save up money and move home. My dad started laughing so hard. Have you ever been with somebody when they're laughing so hard, you start laughing with them? You're like, and then I'm like, what are we laughing about?
Wait a second.
I don't know what we're laughing about.
That's being serious.
Yeah. And then I'm like, what is so funny? He goes, oh, son, I love you so much, but you're not moving back home. I'm like, oh. He goes, I have my rules, and your rules aren't the same as my rules. You're not moving back to my house. Because when I was growing up, you had to be home at midnight. Man, you did not want to get home at 12:01.
Huh.
But back to my story,
I was having that deja vu.
Hey, you know what?
again.
When you're growing up, man, nothing good happens after midnight. But anyway.
I think that just goes into all life. At that time, I was like, Dad doesn't know what he's talking about. And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely true.
Maybe
Like,
he didn't know what he was talking
like
about.
You do figure things out as you grow up that
Yeah.
Dad was right. He really knew what he was talking about. But the other thing was I made quite a bit of money on this job. And you know what? I was young. And I was down the road with him, and I'm going over with what I made and kind of what I spent. And I said, you want to go in my check account with me so it takes 2 signatures so I don't blow all this money? Man, my dad lit me up like a Roman candle. That was one of the hardest. He pulled the car over, and he ripped me apart. And I'll never forget it. I was blindsided. I'm thinking, he'll help me because I'm not grown up enough to handle this. And I was admitting that, because, even back then, I never lied. I didn't lie to my dad. Well, maybe a couple of times. But, the whole thing was I kind of needed a little guidance. Man, he lit me up. You need to grow up and it was so harsh that it blindsided me, and I don't even remember everything he said. I was just like.
And how old are you at this point?
Oh, God, I think I was 23. But it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, but, I think it's the best thing he did for me because it really made me step back and go, okay, maybe I need to grow up, So, you know what? A lot of people don't understand this. I kind of did it with you guys. And, my dad gave me and my sister a good lifestyle. But my mom and dad were really hard on us. They made us work. I mean, they made us do things. And, like I had a friend, Bo, he'd outwork me, man. He'd come over and outwork. That dude outworked me all day long, And my best friend, Pat, he'd come over and work. And me and Pat getting just as much trouble as I would if something didn't go wrong. But, it's a funny thing that you learn what your parents teach you. And I don't know, it's kind of getting a little bit off track of what I was thinking about.
No, but I think that is very true.
He made me grow up.
And I think it's also when you get into business that, 3 years ago when I was starting this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cake. I got this. And then I don't think most people that have never ran a company or even they can read every book in the world. They don't fathom how to move that much money.
Well, and you know what? When you're young and all of a sudden you get this money, what it did, it made me grow up. It made me put money in a savings account, pretend like I didn't have it. I lived in an apartment. I didn't have toys. I worked all the time. At one point, I had my company, and my dad's superintendent, who is an amazing guy, his name was Butch Rowe. He was just a really amazing guy. And there was no way I could fill his shoes, but he got really sick, got really ill. Anyway, my dad called me and asked me if I would, be superintendent. Well, I'm like, okay. Being the son of the boss, being a superintendent is not an easy task. And my dad always told me I'm not better than anybody else and nobody better than me. So I get in with my plumbers, I get in with all my guys, and I'd dig a ditch with my plumbers. I remember the first time I got come along with my concrete guys. They'll stop and look at me like, what are you doing? But it made me better at my job. It made me learn a lot. But at one time I was building commercial buildings during the day and remodeling. I would go home and get to sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and then we would go in at night at 10 o'clock and remodel U-totems to Circle Ks. And I would usually go in there about 10 at night, work till 6 in the morning. And, I had to be at the other job usually by 6:30. If I wasn't there by 6:30, hustling. And I did all the tenant finish stuff as well. When we built a commercial building, I'd go in and I'd have my contractors, and I would get in there and hang metal studs. And, I did a lot of the work. I didn't do the heat and air, the plumbing, things of that nature. I remember the first time I had to do a drop ceiling. I have no idea. My dad goes, "You need a drop ceiling this whole place, blah, blah." And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. You'll figure it out. I need it done, And I'm like,
I feel like one of the spring breaks, Dad goes, "Hey, I need my whole bathroom retiled and everything." Bids were pretty expensive. I go, "Dad, I don't tile." He's like, "You can figure it out."
I think that's exactly how that went.
I'm pretty sure.
And you know what? You figured it out, and so did I. I figured out that
I
drop
was pretty
ceiling.
cheap, Tyler, too.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I found out there's a thing you could rent that would put marks on the walls and everywhere, and where to crimp the wire. And as I went along, and I hung that drop ceiling, and I think my dad was really kind of like, he figured that out. And
that was quick.
But my dad, the one thing that I think I instilled that with my dad and racing dirt bikes, I'm sorry, I think racing dirt bikes has a lot to do with who I grew up to be. I didn't like to lose. My first year, I think I was last place all the time. And my dad sat me down and goes, "I really like this sport, but I'm not going to go out there and watch you lose all the time." And that's not fun. And so, as years went on, I got better and better. But anyway, I think that the way he raised me, racing motorcycles and all that, I just didn't have a fear. There wasn't much I didn't think I could do. And, I'll never forget when you turned around your senior year, Dane. Dre had broken his back March 6, 2010. And I made you stop racing. And you said you're going to play Carney football your senior year. He's going to sit on the bench all year long. I said that today. He goes, "No, I'm not." And I'll never forget, Coach Jones says to him, "You think you can handle this? You think you can handle me?" He goes, "You don't know my dad." I thought that was kind of funny, but
it's growing up, though. You end up, I will say, like from the racing motorcycles and losing, you get this mentality that it's
not enjoyable.
I feel like so many people just accept failure, and they accept it that it's something that happens. I feel that when you become good at an independent sport, that there's no one to point and blame. So many people come up and they've only played team sports. I don't think team sports are bad.
No.
But it's when you always are on a team, I feel people are raised now to say, "Hey, it wasn't your fault. It was his." Or an excuse to point, like the accountability factor and what it transitions to in the business world is when you hold that accountability on your shoulders for everything that you do, it changes your life.
And there are some players on team sports that hold their own accountability.
There is.
It goes both ways. I think a lot of it depends on how we're raised, but I do agree that, when you do an individual sport, and I don't care what that sport is, I think it teaches you a lot. I think it teaches you a lot playing team sports. I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages.
Correct.
But, for me, I played baseball. I was not good at baseball. I just wasn't. I stood out in the outfield. I think it's because I stood out in the outfield and I was young. I kicked the dirt around, but my daddy get levitt. "Pay attention." Nah, I wasn't fun. Way too slow for me.
But you feel adrenaline side that you talk about fear. And we were just talking about fear the other day when we came in the office, that there's nothing in the world that I'm fearful of. Like every day when I get up, I fear nothing. Like I look at such a grand picture of where we are, that there's going to be 200 years from now that none of us are remembered. There's going to be 300 years from now that we were such a small piece in such a large picture. And people will fear the smallest things. That what's the worst that would happen today? But growing up, having so many different things take place, I think it elevates into the workspace, personal relationships, things like that, when you become an independent human being.
Well, the thing I spaced off a minute ago on was my dad raised me and my sister a certain way, but we were kind of, I don't want to say spoiled, but we kind of were. But he worked us super hard. And, I did that kind of with the boys, I took good care of them, but man, I worked them hard. I was brutal. I'll never forget, I called my friends, go, "Why are you so hard on your boys?" Because I'm going to die someday. And they need to know how to take care of themselves. And I also believe, and this is just my belief, nobody else, it's just mine. I believe that I've raised them with a certain lifestyle, and I teach them how to work hard, that they'll never go backwards in life. They'll always move forward. And that's just my personal opinion. That does not mean that that's the right way or the wrong way. It's just how I believe. And because that's how I was raised. I never want to go backwards. I always want to go forward. And my dad made me believe, I figure if I can make my dad happy and I can do things for him, there's really nothing I couldn't do.
But you hit something there that always when you're moving forward, and this is something I live by through the whole office, if you're in our coaching or anything, I feel humans find happiness in progression. I truly do. We work with so many business owners, people that are driving forward and becoming more successful and building a company. They can help more people. They can do so many different things. And if you're getting better in the gym, you are finding happiness there. If you're getting better in a relationship, you're finding happiness there. If you're getting better at work, you're finding happiness there. That progression piece is you should be progressing your whole life.
But that takes knowing yourself, believing in yourself, knowing who you are. So I agree with you 100%. But it takes a lot to get to that point. And I'm not trying to boost any of you guys. You guys are a little bit on the exceptional side on the way you view things. Not everybody views that. Sometimes I don't. I mean, I talk to, I've told both of you guys have kind of known some of the experiences I've gone through. And, in the last couple of years, I'll talk to you about something, and I learned from you guys. And it's funny how we turn around and all of a sudden, I'm on the phone with one of you about something, and I'm like, wow, I'm learning from my kids. It's a really good experience for me. But I agree, if you're always moving forward, and sometimes that isn't in business, like you said. Sometimes it's, for me, it's a process every day, and sometimes my process in my world at my age, man, you're like, how can this be so hard? But then at the same time, I'm a pretty lucky man, and somebody asked me the other day, why are you always in such a good mood? Well, most of the things that blow up in any world, you don't have control over. I'm not going to get upset over something I don't have control over. I have no. Why am I going to get mad? I don't have control over it. It doesn't affect, it may affect me, but I can't change it. I'm not going to get mad. All I got to do is, okay, what's the best solution for me to move forward, just like you said. And that's being positive. And sometimes that's not easy. But for me, it's kind of one thing I always look at, and this might sound corny to some people, but I have 3 kids. All 3 of my kids are healthy. The rest of my day's a bonus. Really, it is. When you have 3 kids, I see what you 2 guys, and your little sister's amazing as well. It's like, the rest of my day's a bonus, But, so it's all good. I've moved forward from construction business, how I got into everything I've done.
So let's hit past the construction business.
Okay.
And now, after the construction business, you got into Dirk's Bar and Grill, right?
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Here's kind of how it worked. I was out at, it was on a Saturday. I was out doing something at a strip shopping center that superintendent we just built. We had a contract on everything that went in it. And I was wearing this shirt my mom had painted. My mom would paint these ducks. And I was wearing this sweatshirt that had the duck head upside down. Corny as all get out. And I guess back then I thought it was cool. Gray sweatshirt. And I had been with my plumbers to eat lunch. I'd go with my plumbers, my electricians, my concrete guys. We'd go to different places to eat. The guy in the suit and tie would get treated different than we would. And I'm like, Dad, you so say you're not better than anybody else, nobody better than you. But they would get treated different. And one Saturday, it was my plumbers, and my plumbers were good guys. The guy that would come was a great guy. And we've been working our fanny off digging this whole thing across the back of this building. And that's a long building, 360 feet. And, man, these 3 dudes in a suit, probably super great guys. But they got treated like kings, and we got treated like not so much kings. So I got back, finished digging all that stuff, and they left, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it really bugged me. And so I called my dad. I go, hey, you know what? We need to open a sports bar up here. And call it Dirk's and I'm wearing this shirt Mom painted and use duck as a logo. Yeah, kind of blowing me off.
Was he laughing as hard as he was?
No. He was just saying
that one was 100% no. This one did happen.
That was kind of a chuckle blow off.
Yeah.
And so, but I was serious about it. So I turned around and I put a business plan together, right down to the straws. I did used equipment, and I would turn around at lunchtime, and there's a place that used to be down the River Market. I'd always there and price equipment, talk to those guys, and I didn't know anything about the bar business. I didn't know anything about the restaurant business. Didn't know a thing. Long story short, I'll never forget. I said, hey, I got a business plan on that bar and grill called Dirk's Bar and Grill. Are you serious?
You're still thinking about that?
Yeah. Well, I gave it to him. 2 weeks go by.
That's the name you came up with?
Yeah. And so I called him about 2 weeks ago. Did you look? He goes, are you serious about this? Really? I'm like, yeah. So I did a business plan, gave it to you. I don't know how many days went by. It could have been 1 or 2. I don't know. Maybe 3. I don't know. And he called me. That's pretty good. I go, yeah, I need $27,000.
I just need one small business loan of $27,000.
So my dad goes in and negotiates a 10-year lease, $27,000 tenant improvements. He goes, I'm going to negotiate a long lease. You're going to make this work, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah. We get my mom involved, the whole bit. And he negotiates that lease. And we look out of there. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you have me $27,000. I go, what? They're doing the tenant improvement. Yeah, I negotiated that for you. Oof.
You think this shit's free?
But that's just, he was being hard on me. And between him and my mom and I, we built the tables. I built the bar. I screwed the bar up. Messed my measurements up. We had all this room behind the bar. It ended up being cool because we used to have a lot of fun at Dirk's behind the bar. But we opened it up. And my menu was based off of all the stuff my mom made me as a kid. And my dad knew the guys back in those days that owned Fuzzies. And I would go to Fuzzies after working all day and work there for free till 1:30 every morning for several weeks on learning how to make drinks, work the cash register, work the kitchen, make sure that I knew how the whole process worked. It was 2, 3, 4 weeks that I worked there. Man, I was shattered every day. But you never told my dad you were shattered or tired. So anyway, long story short, we put Dirk's Bar and Grill together, and and we opened it up, and it was a hit. It was a hit, and I was there every single night, 7 nights a week for probably 7, 8 years, and we were open for 26 years. You want
to hear a fun fact about Dirk's Bar and Grill? I never got to have a drink in that place.
Did it close like around your 21st birthday?
About 6 months before.
We used to have a Dane burger, though.
Yeah.
Dane was born 12 pounds, 2.8 ounces. So the
burger was 15 pounds.
That's
we had a 1 pound hamburger. It was huge.
Setting records since
we had great
day
hamburgers.
one.
We had good food, great hamburgers. But
I think we jumped over something there. You signed a 10-year lease to start a bar. That's pretty ballsy.
Back then, 87% of them failed. But it kind of showed me something.
That is something that everyone is told, and I want any entrepreneur, anyone looking to.
I was saying the bars back in those days.
No, I'm saying people still get told that shit today.
That made me push me. I like that. I liked hearing that because really, I'm gonna rock this, because I had the mentality back in those days that I thought I could do anything. I thought I was invincible, whether it was riding wheelies on a street bike or, jump side. I thought I could do anything. And so we opened Dirk's, and, man, we ended up opening it. We opened it September 9th of 1988, and Mom sold it January 1st, 2015. And it was a hit for a really long time. The thing that hurt us the most is when Kansas City changed the smoking law. Right down the road was Gators in Platte Woods, and they didn't have that. And so many of our great customers we love you guys, but we're smokers. And, back in those days, a lot of people smoked. And so it changed a lot of things for us. We stuck around there for a long time. But, for years after, I really didn't. It was my mom. It wasn't me. I would love to say I was part of it, but my mom, and she had an amazing staff of people. We had, I'll never forget, our day waitress, Regina, she filled our application out in a dress, white dress with pink polka dots with pink ink on her ink pen when she filled out her application. She worked for us for the day we opened till the day we closed. And my mom is still great friends with so many of those people now. When I was kind of in charge, it was a little bit different. It was a little bit more of a wild rodeo, man.
Nana was selling food. Dad was like, how much booze can we sell in a night?
Yeah. Well, I did. We sold a lot of booze. It was a big party every night, and it was 7 nights a week. We rocked that place, and it was fun. I was young.
So then progressing past the bar, which I know it's a Northland staple that we run into people all the time. They look at our business cards, they go, Moss. They go, you know Dirk Moss? We're like, yeah, that's our dad. He's like Dirk's Bar and Grill. We're like, yep.
That's him.
And then I'm like, are we working together or is that now?
Was that good or bad?
You know what? You don't hear those too often because
No,
you know what?
we haven't caught that yet.
The one thing about it is, I always treat everybody good. I always say I don't have enemies. I've always treated people well. But I was working at Dirk's, and I would work at nights. And during the day, I didn't have a lot to do. I'd go in there sometimes, but I felt like I was getting lazy. So I went to work for a guy, a landscape guy. And I liked it, man. I liked working. And then I'd work at the bar at night, and I was doing a McDonald's for him at 95th and Knoll. And it's like 9 in the morning. I've been there since 6. I had shoveled so much river rock, and where they dumped it, had to wheelbarrow it too. And the guy's name was George. And George was with the owner of the McDonald's guy, and he walks out and he goes, "You need to shovel that rock harder and faster." I looked at George. I didn't need that job. I looked at George, and I'm like, and I've been working my fanny off. I'd moved, I don't remember how many tons of rock I moved, but it'd been a bunch. And I looked at him, I go, fuck you. I did. I shoved the wheelbarrow at him. I go, fuck you, George. I just messed with him. I'm like, nah. I went and got in my car and left. And I've never really ever done that before. You're not going to walk out to me when I've been working my fanny off all day. And he was just trying to be a big shot. That's how George was. And you know what? I wasn't going to take that from him. And so I left. And I don't know, probably 3-4 weeks later, my dad's like, "Hey, I got a bank job that needs to be cleaned. Will you clean the bank for me? You done construction?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And so I'm cleaning this bank. I'm listening to this guy talk. He's talking about the lawn care. So I walk over. I go, "Hey, can I put a bid in on lawn care?" "Well, I've been using this guy, same guy, for about 8 years. I'm pretty happy."
His name's George.
And I go, "Is that a no?" He's like, "You know what? Hold on." He gets a book out. "How about you meet me in my office at Tuesday at 9 in the morning?" I'm like, "Great. Where's your office?" He tells me. So I show up there at 9 in the morning. We have a great conversation. Long story short, I pick up 14, back then it was bank fours. Pick up 14 bank. Well, I had to put my bids in, but I met with him. I put my bids in, and I pick up 14 bank fours. I ain't on a lawnmower. And
this sounds very familiar.
They didn't need to know that.
I did the same shit at 15.
yeah, I did not own a lawnmower, and the first mowers I bought were all the wrong ones,
Of course.
And so, yeah, and I'll never forget, I had been doing it for a very short time, and I had to get my turf and ornamental license, category 3, and it was a tough test, and I got my license, and the very first thing I sprayed was his bank. He called me like, I don't know how many days after. He goes, "Hey, I need you to come by my bank." I'm like, "Everything okay?" He goes, "Yeah, just come on by." I'm like, "When?" He goes, "When can you?" I'm like, I'll be there in a couple hours. I pull up, all the grass is dead.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
"Oh, shit."
That was gasoline.
Fuck that one up.
It was a huge learning curve, so I actually learned a lot. And I'm thinking, well, and what was really funny is I sprayed all these other banks. None of their grass died. So I'm going to think my little agitator or something didn't work in there, but I don't know. But anyway, I fixed that problem, and I fixed it promptly, and he was really happy about how I fixed it. I had those banks for years, and I ended up building a really big lawn and landscape company, and ended up having a nursery, and it got really big, really, really big. And so I would do that, Dirk's Bar and Grill, and had both of those going. And I think in 1999, I went to buy a new truck. Yeah, I'm at a car dealership. I'm listening to this guy on the phone talking about needing brokers. I'm standing there. I've been building a Pisa 2 rock wall. My shins were bleeding a little bit. I had shorts, work boots on, because I had a dress code with my lawn and landscape company. Always had to have a Dirk shirt on, had to be tucked in, the whole bit. But guy gets off the phone. I said, I applied for that job. He looked at me and just laughed at me. I go, I'm dead serious. Long story short, I went to 3 interviews, ended up getting the job, and that's how I got in the mortgage business. It was a mortgage broker. And when I started, the guy that I was his company, he didn't know any more than I did.
He's like, I got a suit, bud.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
A really nice suit. And that's it. We had to wear a suit every day. So at the time, I'm like, playing dress up, and
This is cool.
Yeah.
I don't have grass on my legs right now.
And so I ended up getting 3-piece suits. There was a guy who used to come by the office and sell these really nice suits for a discount. I wear a 3-piece suit every day.
You're telling me I can go to dinner straight from work?
Yeah.
What? Don't even have to change.
I was doing Dirk's Bar and Grill, Dirk's Cutting Landscape, and then working for a mortgage company. And ended up, I got to where I didn't have anything to do at Dirk's. I think I completely turned everything out 2003, somewhere around 2003 with my mom. I really didn't have much to do after that. And then probably same time, I probably did the same thing, sold out on lawn and landscape business. Just wasn't I loved the mortgage industry. It was amazing. Your guys' mother, my first 6 months, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. She's like, I'll never forget. My very first realtor I sat down with, she said good faith estimate, and I'm thinking, yeah, we do those. I had no idea what it was, but I was ambitious. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be good at it. And I remember telling their mom, I don't know if I can do this. She goes, what'd you just say?
I said yes to a lot of questions. I don't know.
I didn't know anything. They gave me a matrix. We were brokers. So you'd have all these different lenders, and they gave us a matrix, and it might as well have been written in Japanese. I didn't know what any of it meant.
I still don't think people know what a matrix is.
A matrix is a deal where it tells you, this is their credit score, this is the loan to value, this is their debt to income, this is what your rate is, this is how much you make, this is a yield. They're not the same as today as they were back then.
He said with here's my matrix. Which one do you want? This is like McDonald's.
Take a pick.
Yeah.
Let's work through it together.
Credit score's here. This is the one you fit in.
I would turn around and call the owner, and he's like, I don't know, Dirk. I don't know what that means. And me and him would sit till midnight.
Let's figure it out together.
Yeah, that's what we did. We figured it out together. And, I think I loved it. And even when the mortgage crash happened, I still did pretty good through all that, It wasn't, my income got cut down quite a bit, but I still did good.
And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have also in every business model, and it gets brought up a lot of times, is when there's a dip in market. When you have a dip in market, something happens like 2008, the biggest players in the room are still big players in the room. Where it's the same thing we talk about real estate agents. What people don't realize is 5% of agents sell 95% of real estate.
Yep.
Guess what? When the market drops, the 95% that aren't selling shit are the ones that are retreating back into an hourly job, something that they can go do. The 5% still do really well. They don't see a huge fluctuation where you being at the top of your game still, it's like you see a fluctuation down, but it's not like the people that are like, oh my God, I'm done. I got it.
Well, and it's the old saying, you guys have heard me say it probably way too many times, is, doing the same thing every day and expecting different results is insanity. Well, when you have a market change, you don't keep doing the same thing you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, you have to adjust with the market, because I went from being, when I was a mortgage broker and the market started crashing, you had all these lenders imploding. So you couldn't turn around and go, hey, I'm going to send this there or that there, because they were gone. So that's when I became a mortgage banker. And wow, what a learning experience, and how much more for me, not for everybody. Some people love being a broker, and I have nothing negative to say about being a broker or mortgage banker. Each teach their own. But I like to be a mortgage banker. I like using their own money, funding their own loans, and it gave me it gave me a little bit better of feel good for my client, because I ended up getting my own team. I had my own, processors, my own underwriters, my own closers, and still have up till just here recently, till this week. But I had those people, so I knew my clients would be taken care of. I knew they were being looked after. I knew my real estate agents would be happy. So when you're a broker, you can build relationships with people. Back then we built them with Countrywide, National City Mortgage, First Magnus, a lot of great people at those companies too back in the day. But when they imploded, you had nothing.
Yeah.
So, and then it's adjust. Where do you go? What do you do?
So with business owners, with entrepreneurs, with everyone that is listening, watching, what would you say one of the most vital tools is, or one of the most vital tools that you have learned over the years of always running and operating your own business that you would tell someone getting into business?
Well, first thing, believe in yourself. That's the number one thing. You have to believe in who you are. And that doesn't always mean that believe that I can climb that ladder and do that. That's not what I mean. Believe in who you are as a human being, okay? Like who you are and believe in who you are. Now, you say something about fear. I think it's good to have a little fear when you're a business owner sometimes, because it keeps you honest and pushing hard. Because, I will tell you, there has been times in my life that I did have fear as a business owner because I didn't want to fail, okay? And so that failing wasn't an option. So to have that little bit of fear, for me sometimes, I guess always made me not get too comfortable, so something snuck up on me. So for me, that's something that's not bad. But, I think the number one thing is if you believe in who you are, I think you can do whatever you want. My biggest thing is do something that you really enjoy. I kind of fell into things. The bar business was fun. I was young, man. I had a good time. That was some fun stuff, and I've gone through a lot of things in my life that weren't good, but those are the things that built me into who I am today, and they helped me be a father to you guys and to your little sister. And but I think the number one thing as an entrepreneur, that if you're going to go out and do something, believe in yourself and find something that you're passionate about, and enjoy the ride.
I think a lot of people discount that last piece, enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I lose sight of it. The vision that I have in life is way different than most people will ever imagine.
Yes, it is.
But it's like I have this vision of where I'm supposed to be. And it's always I've always been right where I'm supposed to be along the way. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of times you kind of lose sight that I had probably like the most surreal moment when I signed on this office. That I sat right up there, office was completely bone empty, and I was having a drink, and I was like, even though we had a business before that, it wasn't real. It was like when we're moving in, it was like, this shit's real. And then it's like when we're moving desks and everything. I look back at that when we're rolling in trucks one after another, unloading desks and everything. I'm like, at that point, I'm thinking it's a real pain in the ass having to do all this stuff. And now I'm looking back, I was like, if somebody signed me up to do that again tomorrow, I would
hire a moving crew.
No, but it's just like, it's so cool when you get those pieces when you're doing something, that enjoy every minute of it while it's happening. Because that is what, there was some reel that Logan shared with me the other day, and I think it's Tony Robbins' wife or something, but she was talking about, is that right? No?
I shared it, and it was Mel Robbins, who is not Tony Robbins' wife.
I was close.
So she has the 5-second rule, but what she said was the point of hiking isn't to get to the top of the mountain, it's to be on the trail.
Yeah.
So saying to enjoy the journey and not just be trying to get to wherever you're trying to get to.
So I totally butchered the shit out of that.
And you know what? And here's the deal. It's not just in work, because I'm going to tell you of somebody that, just recently, I haven't enjoyed some of the journey. and it's not always about work, And so when you say enjoy the journey, you can hurt your work when you're not enjoying your personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
You really can. And I've kind of messed up and not enjoyed my personal journey. I take responsibility for all my own actions, whether that be work, whether that be personal. And I have messed up some of that journey, and it takes stepping back. One of the big things that I have learned is accountability. Okay. Because if you blame others, you don't grow, you don't learn. Okay. If you don't look in the mirror and take a little self-inventory, okay, because I'm not all that. There was a day, man, I thought I was all that. Okay. And I never was. Okay. But boy, I thought I was, But the one thing that I say that I do think is that if you believe in yourself, find something you're passionate about, and you really enjoy the journey in life itself, I don't think anything can stop you.
I will say the only problem with it is life becomes really, really fast.
Yes, it does.
When things are great and you are loving every minute of it.
It's like quick, doesn't it?
Like, I had 3 years in the car space. It seemed like it was like 10. I am thinking we're about to come up on 3 years since this shit started. I'm like, it felt like it started yesterday.
Car years are kind of like dog years.
Yeah.
They don't
7
count
to
the
1.
same.
7 to 1.
Yeah.
But it's
I don't like those car years at all.
But it's crazy when you sit there and you look at the journey that is the most important part, because I sit there and look at somebody else vision of their end is where I'm at now. That vision's always, once again, if you're chasing progression, it's your whole entire life. I'll be 70 and I'll still be chasing progression. But it's when you're always chasing that progression, that vision's always changing, that journey is always there. So I think that's something that a lot of people lose sight of.
No, I think you're huge on that, because I have. There's times when you lose sight of that journey. You lose sight of so much. And again, it can go back to that. You can lose sight of that because of financial. You can lose sight of that because of relationship. You can lose sight of that because of kids. There's so many things you can lose sight of. And, it's going back to, it always goes back to believing in yourself, and there's times, I'm not going to tell you every day of my life I believed in myself, because that's just not the truth. There's never been those days where I just don't believe in myself. That's not what I mean. But you mess things up. You do things wrong, and it's your journey goes in a path that you would never have gone in if you'd have just kept your, I don't want to say eye on the prize, because it's not what I'm thinking. If you just kept true to yourself and believed in yourself and what you were doing. And sometimes the things that you're doing, you're like, man, I need to cut this rope and get out of here, because I am not doing what I want to be doing. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I went down a road business-wise that I got into something that, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And I kept the journey going for others. And I was miserable. And it destroyed a lot of my life. And that's nobody's fault but my own. I don't blame anybody but me. But it destroyed a lot of who I am. And it set me back a lot as a person. And it was kind of funny after I got away from it. So went back to what I love. It was amazing how I started to feel good and whole again. I used to hate going to work. I hated going to work. And now, I can't wait to go to work. I love my job. I love doing what I do. I love going to work every day. I love the people I work with. This last 2 weeks has been a little crazy, but you know what? It's like, I think it all boils down to one thing. It's all inside. If you feel good and you keep yourself true to yourself, you can stay on that right journey.
I also think when you're on that journey, so many people look at, I hate using the word failure. Like, it's just not.
Oh, yeah, but it's not a bad word.
I don't even use it. I use it as, I have lessons, a lot of lessons that have came my way, that there's a day I'm sitting in my driveway and we're working in the basement. I have a whole grove of people. There's 7 of us working in the basement, and it's payday. I'm like, I can't write checks. And I'm literally sitting in my truck like I have no earthly fucking idea what to do. And I'm like, just at a loss of words, I'm like, why am I here? Like, why have I been put right here? And I sat in my truck for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, I'm about to go inside and have a talk with Madison that we're going to pull money from our house. We're going to figure it out, like make it happen. And I walk out and I open up my mailbox and it's filled with checks. This is when in the beginning I started.
But how much did you learn from that sitting in the driveway? How much did you learn about yourself and everything else?
I learned what
sitting
feeling
in your
at the
driveway.
very fucking bottom felt like. I felt, and I screenshotted my bank account that day. And there's going to be a day way down the road that we're going to write a book. And that screenshot, because Alex Ramosi in his book has a screenshot of his bank account.
I've got some goosebumps over here.
Yeah. He has a screenshot of his bank account when he first started. That he had less than $1,000 in his bank account. As a screenshot in the first chapter of his book. There's going to be one day that there's a book that I write that screenshot is going to be in there. That it's like, that is what figuring it out feels like. That most people always have, like, it is.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it's pretty good.
But it's
very
also,
fortunate.
But it's also you figure out.
You had a plan.
No, at that point
I thought you said you had a plan. You were going to do this, and all of a sudden you did.
I was going to figure it out. There was going to be an alternate route, but I'm sitting there. I'm like, what? And I've been fortunate enough that I have a significant other that does great. So she helps out on the personal side. I put money aside coming from another job that there was money on the personal side, but business and personal I've always kept separate. And it was just like, I hadn't came to that point, but I have ran this as like its own entity since we started.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did something wrong. What have I done? And at that time, though, we started figuring out that at scale, payment in the rears didn't work. I'm like, all of a sudden, we're sitting there, and I have $150,000 owed to me that's not there. I'm like, there's money out there that's owed to us, so I could pay him. But
where
is
it?
The money's not here. I'm like, that's the problem. So it's like you start running into all these different issues, and as things have scaled even more, money moves, and you start dealing with much larger amounts of money.
Mm-hmm. And bigger payroll.
Bigger
expenses, all of it.
Expenses stack crazy
fast.
Quick. And people
guess what? They want their check every month on this date.
Yeah, but it's just like those things happen. And we were sitting the other day, and Logan's like, "Do you know what you spent on Facebook last year?" I'm like, I don't know. He's like, "You spent over $500,000 on Facebook." I'm like, I had a single Amex card that spent over $500,000 to Facebook when we're running out of a basement.
Man, think what that would be with Southwest miles.
I don't fly Southwest. but
it
it's
was
like,
a lot with Delta.
Yeah, it was still a lot. That's why we have new Macs everywhere. But it's one of those things when you look at those numbers that start moving, there's just so many moving pieces, and there's been so many learning curves along the way that now, from going through that, I feel like I'm a 10 times better business owner because of it.
You're 100% correct. When you start going through, and like you said, you don't want to use the word failure. That's not, I look at it like this. You're only a failure. You're only a failure when you give up and you quit. Because you guys have seen me go through some ups and downs in life from the financial side. You've never seen me lay down.
Yeah.
Never. And it never changed your life much. But, it's easy to give up. It's easy to quit. I'll just give you a quick example right now. Last couple days, and it's national news right now, but our company got acquisitioned last Monday. Not this last Monday, Monday before. And they had a manager's call on Tuesday. And they turn around and they say, hey, this mortgage company is acquisitioned ours. I'm not going to say the mortgage company's name. They acquisitioned ours. And we're just got a list of 400 people that are being furloughed. I wasn't one of them. Some of the people that work for me were. I was one of the few that didn't get angry. And the reason that I didn't get angry is I didn't have any control. I had to figure out how to take care of my people. And then we find out this Tuesday that it was acquisition, and it was going to be like Team Deal, Celebrity, and this other company. And then we find out that Tuesday, the guy that owns Celebrity just shut the doors. So everybody's like, what? You know, fortunately enough, I've talked to, man, the phone rang, my phone rang nonstop with recruiters and all kinds of people. I've done fairly well in the mortgage industry in my life. But that being said, I did so much homework. I didn't sleep a lot last week or over the weekend because I wanted to make sure that I found a good home. And I wanted to team myself with the right people for my clients, for my real estate agents, and for my staff. And I feel that I've done that. But you want to talk about hop, jump, and skip. And it was a thing where you could say, oh, they promise you this, they promise you that. But what's real? You know? And it would have been easy to go to bed at 9 when I was shattered tired. But it was funny. I've learned how to do some investigative work, which I've never been that kind of guy. You know, I have a friend and she can investigate stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. But then when it came to this, I started doing a lot of research, and you can really dig into a company that I really didn't know how you could dig into.
Our marketplace in today's world is with computers now.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Companies can't get away with
they can't.
Screwing people. You don't have some big monster company out there like, hey, I've screwed everyone and I've really killed it. Like, it doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and you'll see on their stuff where they're putting out there, they look like they're killing. But when you start doing the homework and you start really digging in, you're like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can find financial situation out about the company. I wish I had done that, you know. Celebrity was strong in the beginning. The market changed. I'm not going to get in it. Celebrity is a very good company, and they're very good to me. So I have nothing bad to say about them. They just, unfortunately, they closed the doors. That being said, I've transitioned probably I may have gotten an email while we've been here. I made a decision and went with another company. Been doing all my paperwork. I actually started last Friday, but I wasn't really on board yet because I still had homework to do. I had to make that right decision. And I finally pulled the trigger to make the right decision at the first of the week. And it's amazing how this company has responded. They have gone above and beyond for me and my team, my staff, the other group that is working with us to come aboard. It's been amazing. Our new company will be Day One Mortgage, which I'm really excited about. The people that we are all teaming up with are exceptional. I mean, absolutely exceptional. The people that I've worked with at Celebrity were absolutely exceptional. But sometimes, you know, it's funny. Somebody asked me, why are you angry? Gosh, she was so upset. Why are you not angry? I go, first of all, it's something I can't control. And, you know, I look at it like this, and I look back at a lot of things. I kind of had been seeing somebody here, you know, that made me realize a lot of things in life that I didn't realize until I wasn't seeing it anymore, you know. And it's like, and it's about me, you know. It's amazing when doors close and others open. That door that opens after that one closes is usually a better door to walk through.
Well, just things in I truly believe that you're placed in a position all the time for a reason.
I agree with that. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think everything that happens in my life, everything that happens to me, good, bad, or indifferent, there's a reason. The people that I get in front of, there's a reason. And I don't care if that's my personal, you know, working out at the gym. I don't care what it is. I agree with you 100%. And it's so ironic, you know, like sometimes you run into those people, is your dad Dirk? You know, it's like there's a reason some of those things happen.
But it's you're also positioning yourself for that.
Yeah.
I don't think I have this conversation with people all the time that being a good person, I don't know if you want to call it karma, whatever it is, just being a good person all the time, good things happen.
Yep.
And it's not by coincidence. It's when you're building a network, your network is your value in today's world. And when you build a network, what so many people don't understand is if I screw two of you guys on this couch, like, and screw you over in business, and you also, like, I just took out 66% of my market share.
Well,
like that.
And you know what? What do you gain from it?
Nothing.
You know, and it's a situation. Somebody said this to me the other day at my company that is just closed. She goes, it's so much easier to be nice than it is to be hateful or mean. And, there's really, you know what? It's kind of funny. I don't care if you go into a restaurant. I don't care if you go into any public place. Some people aren't always in a good mood. That doesn't mean it has to change your mood. That doesn't mean you need to turn around and be rude back. You know what? I kind of look at this. I have no control over you, Ricky. Whatever you do, that's your deal.
That is the most positive person on the couch.
Oh, I love Ricky. Ricky's amazing. I love this guy. But, it's like I have learned so much. And, it's really funny. At my age, you're constantly learning. And you're constantly learning about yourself. You're constantly learning about your business. And, I sit and watch you guys grow and learn. I talk to both of you quite a bit. You guys moved to the River Market, and I talk to you a lot more now. Because when you're in the basement, I didn't talk to you because you guys worked nonstop. You didn't get in a car and drive home very often. You did, Dre, but by the time you got in the car, I was probably in bed. So now when you guys drive home, I talk to you more. That's pretty valuable time. And sometimes I'm super busy, and it kind of sucks. I'm like, yeah, man, I live tough. I got to go. And just so you know, we will be moving to the River Market, and we'll be 2 floors above you here, I think, March 1st.
Roomies. Heck yeah.
So we're also excited about that.
No, but also like into the everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So I got off track.
No, but it's funny where you owned 315 Delaware for the longest time.
Yeah, God, I wish I never sold that place.
And I'm looking at office space everywhere and looking at place. I'm literally getting up at 4:35 every morning. The first thing I'm doing when I'm getting ready is looking at office space, seeing if anything hit the market.
What was the place we almost tried to move into? What was the name of the?
So it was in a warehouse, and I had already met with.
The other one.
The barn?
No, the one that was like used to rent movies. It wasn't Blockbuster, but
the
family video night.
Family video. I went and toured the family video, and those people, I think, I don't know how to tell if someone's on drugs, but I think the prices that they gave me was a clear indication that they're on drugs. But I go look at this family video that is trashed,
like retro carpet and stuff.
I mean, it's straight out of the 90s. But the space was cool. I mean, I'm straight out of 94, too. The space was cool, and I'm like, you know what? I think I can make something of this. And so I'm getting talking to them, and then they tell me what it is a square foot because they don't have advertising or anything. And we were looking for a larger amount of space that wasn't squared off offices.
Right.
And they hit me back, and I'm like, oh, does that include build out and everything like that? They're like, oh, no. I go, you guys fell off a goddamn tree. If you think. I go, no wonder it's been vacant for so long. And I was like, well, how about you just sell me the whole building? I'll buy the whole building. It's not in the greatest area. I was like, I'll buy the building. The pizza place that's in there can just rent from me. And they're like, oh no, they don't want to sell the building. The people that own the building own the pizza places.
And they own family video
they own
in the country.
Every one of them in the country. And I started looking up, and they're all vacant nationwide. I was like, holy shit, if we go big, we can have all of them.
There was one in Florida,
they were
Northeast.
Everywhere. But then we started looking at a warehouse, same kind of deal. We go in, and I was fine with the payment, or I was fine with the square footage pricing and everything. I was going to cover, I think, $75,000 worth of the build out, and I think we had 50 on their plate. And then they came back and they're like, well, we want you to cover all the build out, everything, because you're a startup. I was like, well, you can kick fucking rocks. And as this is all progressing, I'm like talking to Madison. I'm like, I'm not finding the space that I want.
All happens for a reason.
One morning I wake up and I'm like, I wake Madison up. I was like, 415 Delaware just listed this morning. I was like, there's no photos. She's like, do you want to be in the River Market? I'm like, this is 1 block over where Dre and I grew up. And we come in and I walk in, and they had like 30 people working in here, and it was so much stuff in here. And I'm like,
well, can I interrupt and tell a really cool story about this?
Yeah.
Okay. You heard Dave say this is where he grew up, and we'll go back. He came here, and there's a bunch of stuff in the place. Okay. We owned 315 Delaware, and the boys, I would go home, pick them up from school, bring them back to work, and then during the summer, I would have homework projects. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Wasn't all that fun.
I would go buy all these books, and I would line out your homework for the day. and they had to do all their homework, do all their classwork because they're getting ready for the next year. And they would sit and do all their work, and then they could go hang out in River Market and get food and hang out. And they had a blast at
Not
3:15.
doing the homework part.
Not doing the homework, but they did that every day during the summer. You know, at least Monday through Friday.
Yeah, makeshift summer school was dope.
Sounds like a really good time.
I had a good, and sometimes I'd have to go in and separate them. They'd get into fights. I'd set them in this. It was really cool space, but I'd set them in this area, and they'd get into fights doing homework. And yeah, back to your space, man. That was some good times back then. I thought my makeshift summer school rocked because you guys always got killer grades, so I was pretty happy about my makeshift summer school. Yep. So anyway, you came in here. The place is freaking packed with stuff.
If anyone's watching, what your kids don't love is makeshift summer school.
Yeah. No, so we come in here.
Your kids get good grades.
Place is completely filled with shit, wall to wall. And I'm like looking around, and the agent that I used that had the place listed, they were subleasing it out to take on a full lease. I'm like looking around, and the guy's like, he's already trying to sell me on it.
Hey, can I say a quick story first?
No. So he's already like trying to sell me on like, well, if this is out of here, this is out of here. I'm like, I'll take it. He's like, you want to negotiate or anything like that? And I'm like, no, I'm not losing it. I'm like, I want this space. Like, no questions asked. I go, but I have to have it by June 30th. And he's like, well, they said they could probably be out by July 15th. I go, I have to have it by June 30th. If not, I'm not doing it. He's like, well, I'll talk to him. I'm like, yeah, they got a lot of stuff to move. And
We'll help them, but
yeah.
they got to get it out of here.
I was like, I just have to be able to sit in here June 30th. And he's like, okay, man, like whatever.
He's like, you're kind of weird, bro.
Everyone's trying.
Was that Hank?
Yeah. So we're trying to figure the whole thing out. And he's like, you know what? They said because you're not negotiating on price or anything, they'll get everything out and you can have it. I'm like, I need to make sure I have the keys on the 30th. He's like, but he goes, your first day of your lease would start on July 1. I go, I don't care about that. I want the keys on the 30th. And the first check I collected for MMG was June 30th of 2020. June 30th of 2022, we sat right up there having a drink. And it was just like, it was that moment that I was like, one of those benchmarks, but it was like also sitting in here one block over. I was like, it's weird how the world comes all back around, puts you right back where you're supposed to be.
Yes, it does.
And
You were meant to be a city boy.
no, that's definitely not true.
No.
I can come down here to work, but then I can head back north.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how that all turned out. I remember when you told me you're going back to the River Market. I was so excited. And then, we've been talking about it. I lease up north our office space, and it's nice office space, very nice, and had a great landlord for the longest time. And then he sold the building. And the landlords aren't bad. They're not. It's not the same. But it's kind of funny how things work because – now the celebrity is closing down. The property manager actually has done a really good job about they have people looking at the space tomorrow, and they're helping us because we don't want to just no matter what celebrity is doing, we don't really want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to walk out with a bad name, and so they're doing a great job finding some new people, and we're going to be moving here to the River Market, and so it's been really. It's ironic how everything kind of comes around full circle, isn't it?
But I think that we are probably coming towards about an
hour and 10.
Our time person just ran off on us, so I guess they were fired.
Well, I'm glad you guys had me on the podcast. Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Any final thoughts?
You know what? The only thing I got, like I said, I got to say is I'm proud of you guys. Couldn't be more proud. I tell you that, occasionally I was really hard on you guys growing up, and I kind of look at it like you guys took what I put out there, and you guys turned around and built something of yourselves, and I couldn't be more proud. I love being your dad.
Thank you
very much.
So, I do love being your dad.
Any business advice?
Oh, business stuff.
I think it was probably your summer school that got him there.
I think it is. Business stuff, like I just said, and I firmly believe this. It's believe in yourself. If you, I had a guy asking me, he goes, I'm too scared to go out there and start my own business. And I'm like, why are you scared? Because I'm going to fail. You know, I go, well, if you start off that way and you don't believe in yourself, well, let's stop. What do you do for a living? And he goes, I do concrete. I go, okay. Could you start a concrete company if you maybe got a small business loan or something of that nature? Yeah, but I'm scared I'd fail. And I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you this. Do you believe in yourself? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. And, you know, right there, I've said, when you believe in yourself, 100%, start that concrete company. That's the best advice I can give you. And, you know, if you believe in who you are as a human being and you know you're a good person, you're going to do the right thing when you do your business, and you're going to enjoy that ride. Because I know you guys are enjoying that ride. I know you are. And you enjoy that ride, man, life is good. And I think it's okay, you know, to have a little fear. You know, always have a little fear in the back of your mind of failure. It's a good push, you know, because nobody wants to fail. And I'm going to say, if you do fail, that's okay.
But I will say that failure is built on finances. That is how people, I feel, so many business owners, everyone, that the reason that guy was fearful of a concrete company was money.
But that's not what failure's about.
It's not, but that's what people fear. Yeah. When you truly believe in yourself, then failure is not something you're scared of. I am never scared of failing. I know that I have whatever it takes to do whatever I want any day. And people, the fear factor, that guy knows he's good at concrete. He has no fear in his head about being able to do concrete. He is fearful of a business loan. He is fearful of finances.
And you know what? I believe that that's okay a little bit. Not to be scared. There's a big difference. To have a little bit of fear, man, is a good drive for people, you know. That they never get too comfortable. And, you know, for some people, everybody has a different definition of failure, just like everybody has a different definition of success, you know. And that's whatever yours is. But I'm going to tell you, there was times when I was in business, when I was making gobs of money, I always had a little fear in the back of my head. That's okay. It kept me driving. It kept me pushing. But it wasn't about the money. Failing, it wasn't about the money. It was about me, you know. And so, because I'm a hard worker. I don't have a problem working. I can make money.
But it's like, I think when you look at it that way,
I'm not said don't let it consume you. That's not what I'm saying. Because you know as well as I do, a lot of consume so many people that they fail because they built it up in their head that they're going to fail.
But I think if you even have that picture in your head anywhere, like
only if you have passion, do you have that picture.
I do not believe fear is real. Danger is real. If you get hit by a car, that is real.
You and me both agree on that.
Yes.
We both agree on that.
People
are scary.
People.
Yeah. No. Well, we were talking about sharks, I think, when you and I had
But the fear is something people make up in their head. And it is something that I feel that if it's in my head anywhere, I have conditioned myself over time that it's not something I even give any piece of my brain to anymore. But it's as that vision has gotten clearer and clearer, it has become easier and easier to get there. But it's once you start moving forward and you're moving forward, you don't even think about a step backwards.
Well,
but, I think
most people don't when they're moving forward. But let's just use what's going on in our world right now. Some of the economy, some of the people it has affected greatly.
100%.
Some people it hasn't affected at all. So for some people, and just like COVID, you know, what COVID did to so many people, let's say in the bar and restaurant business, you know, was there's going to be that fear when things like that happen that you don't have control. But my point is...
So we have a restaurant that was opening up right at the beginning of COVID, and because he didn't have the same mentality as everyone else, and that they've been doing it the same way for 10 years, and all of a sudden now it's different, he was coming into it in a whole new forefront, and he said, I was running lower overhead because I had less employees, and he goes, I took over the online space. He goes, I think adaption is what...
Well, it's... doing something different. You have to adapt to the market. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah. But same thing with, I hate the factor of when people want to, I feel that economy is an excuse. And I feel so many people lean on that as an excuse that I saw the market shifting because we work with so many business owners. I saw the market shifting in October. It started shifting in the auto space, and we're seeing it on a grand scale only because we work with so many people. So I started shifting everything that we do, and I started dropping a lot of accounts that I knew that the way that they thought was not a long-term account for us. They were already building their futures in reverse. So I started.
That's somebody that is consumed by failure.
So we take
fear.
a step.
Let's say fear.
We take a step back. We restructure product to roll out the first of the year, and my restructure phase cost me, I don't know, $40,000 a month in losses. But we dumped everything into that to restructure everything, and we roll out and we're stronger than ever. And we see a lot of companies that are dumping in the dirt.
That's why more people need to get on your call.
The faster you can see a vision and the faster you can see it to being able to adapt and see a void in market, there's a void in every market. I don't care what it is. It's how are you going to look at it differently than the next person to elevate yourself above and also be progressive, not reactive.
But not everybody knows how to address that. Not everybody knows how to deal with that. So, there's people that need to learn and figure that out. And that goes back to believing in yourself, man.
Yeah. And
it does.
And yeah.
Square One. They need to join Square One call, don't they?
Link down below.
Yeah.
But
link down below. I'm telling you what, I'm somebody that's been a business owner most of my entire life. And it's amazing what I learned on those calls. And I'm not trying to boost it, but there is a lot of truth. But that we're being broad right now. It gets a little more in depth on the calls. So, and then actually you can talk about certain issues. So I think the calls are huge, especially when people are struggling with businesses and economy. Because they do. I just had a guy tell me the other day, like you're talking about, oh man, I don't know if I want to go through with this loan.
That factors into, like, I have a coaching group, but I'm also in a coaching group.
Yeah.
Like, I feel every single human being out there should have a mentor that they can talk to, that can help them level up what they're doing, that is pushing them a little bit further every single week.
And holding them accountable.
Yeah, and I don't know where in society we lost, where we start school at what, like 5 years old? And then 21, you graduate high school or college, and then shit's done. Like, go to work now, do the same shit
but you know what
until you're 16 and retire.
You know a lot of that is?
67.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what happened there? It's called parenting.
Yeah.
Parenting changed. And you guys know this as well as I do. We were talking about earlier. My dad was my mentor. I like to think I was a mentor to you guys growing up. And I was for a long time until you guys took off a certain direction with this business, And I think that in today's society, parents check out early. I mean, check out way before kids get out of school. They're not there for them. They don't have anybody to mentor. That doesn't mean whether it's a boy or girl. They don't have somebody to look up to or somebody to push them or somebody to teach them right from wrong or whatever it may be. And so that's where, and then like you get me at my age, you start thinking of all these different things and you think you got it. Well, I don't care. There's some guys that do have it. They got it all. But so it was funny. I all of a sudden one day signed up and I was actually talking to somebody else that was telling me about the calls. And I knew about it. And Dre's like, you go sign up? I'm like, fuck no. And that's what I said to him. And then I was talking to one of my friends who told me about that he does a call. And then I talked to a girl that told me about does a call. And both of them are successful people. And the things that they were telling me, I'm like, okay, shit, I got to sign up for this. My son's deal. I got to see what this is about. And I've talked to Dane quite extensively after some of the calls. Because you know what? Man, when you think you're all that and you can quit learning, it's time for you to fucking check out because you can learn. And like you said, you're in a coaching group. And I don't know for me if it's so much mentorship it's for me seeing things from a different perspective. Because a lot of times we get set in our ways and we think we know. And then when you listen to these calls, you're like, yeah, that's not how I was thinking. But I like that. And so, you're sitting and taking notes and I'm not a note taker. I'm just not. And on some of these calls, and then some of them I really relate to too. And then some of them like, man, I change some things. And I'll call him afterwards and we talk about some of the stuff. So I think that, you talking about it's a mentorship and also getting a chance to view things in a different perspective because, when you you have a lot of young people in there, which is good, but some of the older people think they don't need that, and it's the thing they need the most, because I'm talking from a guy who's, a lot older, and, I've done pretty good in life. Why do I need to get on that call? And I've learned a lot, and I've told you that. I said, your calls surprise me, man. It's like, I cannot believe what I get out of them. A lot of F-bombs, but you know what? I get a lot out of it. And when I get
really intense, it happens.
Sometimes. Yeah. But when I get through with it, I feel good. I feel like I learned something. I feel like my day's going to be better. So, and on some of the calls, man, it gets me really pumped up. And I will tell you that my organization and I had set all these goals, and we had the goal one day. And I'm like, I'm ahead of them a little bit, And then we had a follow-up on one, on building, on our business building and things that we need to do for being organized on a different one. And I started seeing all these things that I didn't do. Man, I don't do that. You know how much more business I would have if I did that? We were talking about networking. We were talking about staying in touch with our clients. We were talking about all these great things. And there was all these things I didn't do. So I don't care who you are or what age and whether they join your square one or they don't join something else. They need to be talking to somebody.
When I tell
you got a men's group that
I'm talking to right now.
That I'm trying to you're talking to. That's something that I think is intriguing because there's a lot of things out there that can help people, especially business owners that, hey, man, things might be going good, but could they be going better? And that's where I think the square one for me comes into play. I'm doing pretty good. I know that my 2023 is going to be a whole lot better just because of the things that we've had in some of those meetings that have put me on a totally different track of things that I need to do that I wasn't doing and that really, they kind of played in the back of my head maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago for, 10 seconds. And then when we drill into them, I was like, wow, I don't do that. No, I don't do that either. And I have all these customers in this huge database, and I'm dropping the ball.
And I think sometimes just taking a step back, that I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of books. And I'm not somebody that reads books on fantasy story stuff that's not real.
That's what I read.
I want to read books on the highest performing individuals and understanding them. And one of the biggest factors that you find in a lot of them is they're always doing those things.
They are.
Like the David Goggins book I'm reading right now. He talks about the accountability mirror, being in the mirror every single morning, being the hardest person on yourself that you can possibly be. He goes, and he talks about people being soft. He's like, nowadays, he goes, people are like, he goes, I was bullied and they called me fat. He's like, well, guess what? He goes, when I start getting an accountability mirror, he goes, you're fucking fat. He goes, they're right. And he's like,
I was reading when he was going through that part.
But it's like all these different pieces that when you start becoming that accountable, but really most people aren't good at that. And most people like organization, simple skills that can change a whole entire business.
It has changed my whole world.
And a lot of times people think just on a business forefront that
personal too.
Personal, like when you become more organized in your personal life.
Ricky.
Dre. But when you become more, Dre's the unorganized one. No, but when you become more organized in your personal life, when you start implementing these different things, that it needs to be brought up to you all the time. That organization is going to be a call that I have probably every 3 months.
You know what? It does need to be every 3 months because, you like I got real organized, then I got off track, and I'm the mirror guy. Okay. Yeah. I'm the big self-inventory, talk to myself in the mirror weirdo guy because I do it a lot. And I live by myself, so it's good communication, right?
He's in there, he has a drink. He's like, hey, how you doing? He's all dressed up and stuff.
No place to go. But you know what? It's funny because what I've been doing, I got this book, and I want it down the road. I want to get it remarkable, but I've been using this book, and I write all these things down. And one of them, like you were talking about, what are you not getting done today that you need to get done? And it was, what was it? It was last Thursday, because all the stuff had happened. My organization was good on doing homework on companies, but all my other organization, I'm looking, and what started it is I walked in my closet, I'm like, oh shit, I got a lot of laundry, and I saw that laundry, and it's like, Yeah, okay, so that's what I went and grabbed my book off the side of my nightstand, and I sat and talked to myself in the mirror on the things I needed to do. It got me on a totally different path. Just my organization, my personal life, things I needed to do that I'd fallen behind on. What do I need to stay focused on in my personal? And when it was my personal, me personally. And then I started on the business. Man, that went on for way too long. But you know what? When I woke up the next day, man, I felt good. And, what I've been doing now is I put my list together every night when I leave work, and then I have a book next to my bed. I add to it. When I get to work, I reevaluate the list. I turn around and put everything in a chronological order that's going to work for me, on what's most important, and I knock that out. And then as the day goes on, I'm adding stuff to the list. I'm putting dates next to everything. And that goes along with my bills. That goes along with, everything that's going on. And, if I hadn't have done that square one call, I wouldn't be on that path right now. Because I'm a type A personality and I'm not the most organized. But, my house is clean. My house, I need to do some floor. I need to mop floors. But my house is clean. My stuff is organized. I'm on my game.
I think just all those things, in everything, need to be on the forefront of your head all the time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it just kind of gets pushed to the back. Life gets busy. All these things happen.
We always got excuses, don't we?
Yeah.
We always make them. Yeah.
And whatever it is, and when we talk about excuses, we may not make excuses, but we make excuses.
That's right.
And when
We do.
Well, I wasn't organized because I was busy doing
It's not an
That's
excuse,
right.
it's a reason, right?
Yeah. And I made excuse for a long time on my tabs on my computer, everything like that. I got a new computer. I came in this morning, told Ricky, I'm cleaning up the tabs. I got a new leaf I'm turning over here.
He's going to have more tabs on that computer.
Yeah.
Now I got 2 computers for all my tabs.
One for the tabs, one for cleaning.
But I think this was a great podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I had a really good time.
Very good
I'm
time.
wondering what took you so long, but I've been wanting to come.
You're episode 50.
He wanted it to be a special episode.
Special episode. All right, man.
I also wanted to fine-tune my craft a little bit more because in the beginning of the podcast space, I was not that great.
You know what? When you jump in the very beginning, you have to be great. Your guy Logan did a post the other day. It says, what do you say, man? I don't remember what it was, but it's about get in front of the camera. It's not going to be comfortable. Get in front of it. Yeah, I did that. I'm like, nope.
Whoa.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, but you guys, you know what, man? The way you guys think and you get in front of the camera and you do it, and you guys are amazing, all of you. Your whole staff's amazing.
They're all the ones that make the whole operation work.
Yep.
I joke with them. I don't really have a job anymore. I think I'm just here.
Yeah, we know that's not true, but I think you got
It's
it.
not here, it's up there. But
Yeah.
I'm supposed to make sure we have paper towels and water, and I really dropped the ball on those things. But
Yeah, you got a great group of people. You guys should be really happy.
once again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I think that is going to wrap up the M3 podcast. I'm going to say Key, Dalton, or Logan.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.